Let's play a game before we get into this conversation on was the Denver Broncos season a success or not. And we're going to do this on the DNVR Broncos podcast. We got Super Bowl 50 champ Todd Davis, Henry Chisholm, Zach Stevens rocking and rolling with you today. We're going to talk about, was this a successful season for the Broncos? We're going to break it down, hear from Sean Payton on his answer, and then we're also going to get into kind of a season review, taking a step back now that we've got a couple seasons or a couple of weeks away from the season, and look at this season. But I want to start with a game first. Todd, and I'm going to ask both of you a couple of questions. Todd, would you say Henry is more of a Coloradan or a Montanian?
Yeah. You put a lot more letters in there.
Yeah, I did. Would you say he's more of a Coloradan or a Montanan?
He's for sure a Montanan.
Yes.
Through and through.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pretty
100%.
clear, right?
Yeah.
I agree. Henry, you would agree with that?
Well, definitely.
So you're giving off the perception that you want to.
Yep.
Well, I wouldn't mind being more Coloradan, but
Well,
it's
you
not
were
who
like
I
you were
am.
like definitely I'm more Montanan.
Oh, definitely. I definitely am.
Little snack.
The bags are so big, too.
That's what I'm saying. The bags are big and they
Yeah.
pack them. That's like a
Yeah.
lunch right there.
This is. It's good.
Henry, would you say that Todd is more of a Bronco, a Viking, or a Saint? And we know he's a Saint as a person, but like as a
boy.
football player.
Yeah. Okay. He's a Bronco.
He's a Bronco? Would
Yeah.
you agree with that?
I agree. Yeah.
Okay,
For sure.
okay. Okay, now final one here. Todd, would you say that Peyton Manning is more of a Bronco or a Colt?
He's a Bronco, baby. They're both horses,
Yeah.
but he's definitely a Bronco.
Oh, he's the grown-up one, right?
Exactly,
He is
exactly.
definitely a Bronco. And of course, this is extremely biased coming from you being a teammate with
Yep.
him who won a Super Bowl. And then Henry and I just loving Peyton Manning and following the Broncos for our whole lives. Do you have that photo of Peyton to pull up? When you pull that up, it's in Slack.
There it
Yesterday, it feels like, every month or something else just comes out for Peyton to just absolutely be considered a Bronco. And we got another one of those yesterday. Omaha Productions. Do you know who owns and operates Omaha Productions?
I think that's the Peyton Manning.
It is the Peyton Manning. So Peyton Manning's own company put out on social media doing the Manning cast with Eli is basically like going to the mat in a WWE Monday Night Raw match. So we can't think of a better season 3 wrap gift for Peyton. And what is that?
That's a Bronco championship belt.
You see any Colts on
I
it
don't,
or
I don't,
anything?
I don't.
No, I don't see any sign of Colts. It's all Broncos. So, this might be the biggest sign that Peyton himself is saying he's a Bronco, not a Colt. Is his own company giving him a championship Broncos
First
belt.
response on this tweet, by the way, was somebody with a Colts championship belt. Saying, you should get him one of these too. Like, no, he doesn't.
So they
want
exist.
One.
The
They
Colts
do.
ones exist.
Yeah, he doesn't want one. That's the whole thing, right? He would have
Interesting.
asked for one.
Yeah,
Man.
I think he's a Bronco. I think whenever he comes back to visit a team, it's always the Broncos.
Yeah.
There was talks about him buying a team, and it was the Broncos. Everything that he comes back to the sport of football is always in regard to the Broncos. In a lot of ways, in the Colts situation, I would be kind of hurt. I'm coming back from a major surgery. I still feel like I got more to get to the team. You guys don't feel like I'm enough.
Yep.
All right, so I got to show you guys what I can do,
Yep.
and then once I'm done with you, I'm done with you.
Yeah.
I think that's how it went.
It's not even like a conversation anymore. Like, he lives in Denver. He goes to every Bronco game. He
Yep.
goes to a Nuggets game once a week. I would guess he hasn't been to a Pacer game since he was a Colt. Like, maybe
Since
that's
Reggie Miller played.
that's exactly it. Since Reggie Miller played. Yeah, I mean,
You're going to have to explain for the kids watching who Reggie Miller is.
wow.
He's the younger brother of Cheryl Miller, the All-Star.
That's that's who that is.
Great Indiana Pacer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that it happened again. We've known, but it happened again.
Every single training camp, he comes by
Yep.
to the
Yep.
Broncos and watches a practice or two. I mean, I still think his key card works. Do you still have a key card
Probably.
that works?
No, I can get one, but I don't have my own.
So man, I just love it. Anytime we can talk about that, it's
Yep.
great. So starting off with that, and now let's go to darker times
Uh-oh.
in the Broncos franchise history. Another losing season. What is this? 7 in a row and 8 straight seasons of missing the playoffs. Shout out to the New York Jets for allowing the Broncos to not have the longest drought of missing the playoffs, because
Appreciate
the
you guys.
Jets, thanks to Aaron for getting hurt and not taking the Jets there. Maybe even Aaron wouldn't have brought the
He
Jets
would
to the
not
playoffs
have.
this
No.
year. So, so shout out to the Jets. But was this season a success? And I think this is a very layered conversation. But let's first just hear from Sean.
Okay.
If this was a success, he was asked this 2 days after the season ended.
Coach Zach Stevens, DNVR, with all the ups and downs of this season, with it being the first season with this team, would you say it was a success, and how do you view this season when you take a step back?
I don't. I have a hard time saying something like that because, I don't. My appetite's, I think, where it should be is a little bit stronger, and I said this at the start of the season, and it was really a discussion kind of off the record, but became. I felt like we had a chance. This team had a chance to get into the postseason, and I feel that same way now. So I'm disappointed because of that, and disappointed that I look back on a handful of things I could have done differently and better. And now, make no mistake about it, we finished where our record was. And we could point to a few games that would have gotten us to 9 or 10, but we could have pointed to a few games that got us to 6 real quickly as well. All right? And so that's generally the case each year. And so, no pass, fail, success, non-success. It is what it is. It just leaves a taste in your mouth that you look forward to the work, and again, the tough thing about it is you don't get to erase it next Sunday. Here it is. That's the truth.
Boo, Sean's no fun. Wouldn't say if it was a success or a failure. But after hearing that, to me, he said it was a failure.
Yeah, I think he's beating around the bush, but I don't think he's happy with it. I think it's more successful than we have been, but I can't just say it was a success. And as we continue to get better year in and year out, our level of success is going to just keep getting higher. I think if you look at different organizations like the Cowboys or the Chiefs who have been successful in the regular season, a success is winning a Super Bowl. Anything less is not a success. So for us right now, I think we're like a winning season is a success, but over time it'll grow. So because we didn't hit that mark right now, can't say it's a success.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely not a success. I mean, they're 8-9. Like, that's not a success.
Wow.
How could it be,
Well, I definitely think it could be because 3 games from what you were last year. Now, there was still some embarrassing stuff on and off the field. Sean was part of some of that on and off the field too. But for the most part, it seemed like this was an NFL football team that, especially after the 70-point game, could compete. And again, that was a very embarrassing loss, which definitely plays into the season. But for the most part, last year, a lot of people said it was an absolute clown show. Now this
They were
is
right.
a team. Okay. Now this is a team 8-9. You're competing to be 500, and then also it's just building off of what you were able to do. It's 3-game jump. That is very impressive. I have to imagine that's one of the biggest jumps in the NFL this season. And you're almost at a winning record. And I would actually say that this 8-9 season was a success if it weren't for one thing. So I'm going to be with you guys and say this is not a success. And that one thing isn't the losing record. It's this season was supposed to build momentum going forward.
Yep.
It was supposed to, and at 8-9, I absolutely see the momentum that the team has moving forward. But Sean destroyed that momentum. When you bench Russell Wilson and then essentially you say that we don't have a quarterback for the future. So this season was about building momentum. There's no momentum going into next season for me when I look at this team in terms of like success that it could have, because the most important position, you just said, we don't know what we're doing moving forward. And right now that option is Jarrett Stidham, and Jarrett Stidham just went out in 2 games and averaged 15 points per game. That's not inspiring at all. So I actually would have made the case that, let's say Russ finishes out the season as a quarterback. He finishes with, what would that probably have been, 30 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. I'd have been here saying, yes, this isn't a resounding success of a season because you're still 8-9 losing record, but yeah, there's momentum going into next season. Now, there's no momentum there. So there's no momentum there, and it's a losing season. Yeah, not a success.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that move, although Sean thought it was the best move, it kind of just puts us at ground zero again for next year.
Yeah.
Because it feels like next year now has to be the year that builds momentum for the year after that.
Right.
So I agree with you. This kind of threw a wrench in the success column. And so, yeah, we're not there. Don't know where Russ will be. Maybe he's back. If he comes back, does that mean that this was a success or not?
Confused. It's like your girl breaking up with you, and then like you get back together, and then you break up with her, and then you get back together, and you're like, what are we doing here? Are we together? Are we committed to each other?
Exactly.
Or are we both still like off here?
And what were you doing while we were on a break?
Exactly. Sean was trying other things out, and I don't know what Russ was doing. Russ was talking behind his back, like it was dirty.
It's dirty.
And that's why a lot of people think that there's no chance that Russ comes back, is because it was a breakup. When they broke up, they each not only went their separate ways, they made it very public what they were doing, and they aired their dirty laundry. That's a great question, though. It probably does change my feelings, though, and maybe this is a success, because then the 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions that you had would be coming back as the starter next year. Man, it would just be like, yeah, it's successful, I guess. Like that's how it would be viewed for me.
I still would say not a success. They're 8-9. Like, they met expectations, I think. Like, I think I probably expected about 8-9 from them, but just because you didn't like shit the bed this year doesn't mean that it was a success. Like, the bar is just higher than that.
Wait, so how is the bar higher than that if you met expectations? Isn't expectations where the bar is?
Those are different things. I think they're different.
I don't think so.
I don't know. If
Really?
we're expecting this and you meet it, it's the bar, right?
But you've never expected somebody to be unsuccessful. Like, you've never like.
Yeah, but then when they do that, and that means they've met the expectations, right?
Yeah. But I mean, but meeting expectations and being successful are very different. Like, I think like.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
But you said that.
Wait, what did I say?
I don't even know.
It's like,
All I know is I'm happy Todd thought the same thing I did.
like, I would look around the league and say, the Cardinals. The Cardinals were 4-13. It's about what I expected. I think they met expectations. Would not call them successful though. Like, it's very different.
No.
You know.
I feel like that's like a kid and the parents like, okay, you need to get a C in this class.
Yeah.
That's my expectation for you. The kid gets a C and the parents like, you failed. And the kid's like, what are you talking about? I met your expectations.
Yeah.
No, you met the expectation, but you expect the kid to be a little shithead. Like, you're hoping you get to bring him home and be like, oh, let's go get like an ice cream cake from Dairy Queen or something because you got an A. But that's just not how it worked. Like, you did what you're expected to do, but that doesn't mean it's a success.
Dang. So then I'm curious what your expectations were for this past year, both of you, and what the expectations are now for next year if this wasn't a success, and what will define success next year, since maybe those are two different things. But did the Detroit Lions live up to their success this year?
Without a doubt.
If they don't cover the 7-point spread over at Bet365 this week, will they have failed in this game?
If they don't win, they failed in this game.
Oh, okay. I like that. So the outside expectations are different from the internal.
For sure. They want to win this game. This is a winnable game. It's not out of reach. They're playing a team that is very up and down and fully dependent on a quarterback who is have just ebbs and flows. So I think that for them, I feel like they want to win this game. It's win or everything is not a success.
I love it. And if you want to get in on that win over at Bet365, the Lions are plus 265. I wonder if this is the biggest spread in a conference championship game in the past decade or something like that. Because 7 points,
Yeah,
that's a
huge.
ton for. I mean, they're both 12-5 teams too. The Lions win 12-5. The 49ers win 12-5. So it's crazy. But if you want to get in on this, go check out our friends over at Bet365, where you can get in on not just this, but every single game in every single sport. Plus, they've got so many boosts going on, and they're going to have so many boosts for these games. So check them out. Use code DNVR365 over at Bet365, and they're going to give you an option of 2 sign-up bonuses. One, either place a $5 bet and get $150 in bonus bets, or place a bet up to $2,000, and it's a first bet safety net. If your qualifying bet loses, you'll receive a matched refund in bonus bets. So check them out. Whatever sport it is, they've got it. Scan the QR code on our screen or download the Bet365 app and use that code DNVR365. Must be 21 and older, physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, once help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER.
And shout out
So,
to-
real quick, the biggest spread in NFL conference history is 14 points. And
When
that's
was that?
1999 Tampa Bay Buccaneers going to to the St. Louis Rams.
Wow.
and the Rams were favored.
Rams favorite plus 14.
What was the score?
Let me check real quick.
Okay. Huh.
While he's looking that up,
They
let me tell you
lost.
about our friends over at Red Hawk Roofing. The best roofers in Denver, where they use quality materials. They have decades of experience, and they have a quick response time. Another great thing about them is that they have a free no-obligation roof and property inspection, as well as free in-depth photo reports for all inspections. And that's great because they can come out, they can tell you whether your roof is good or bad, and if it's good, then they'll send you on your way, and then if it's bad, then you have the right people at your front door to help you out. Also, they're giving away 2 tickets to the Nuggets versus Sixers game, the 27th of this month, and you have to be here on the 25th of this month to be eligible to win those. Here at the DNVR bar, they will be raising money to match support for the Volo Kids Foundation. It's a good cause, great people, so make sure you're at the DNVR bar January 25th to win. If you're looking for a new roof over your home or business, be sure to check out Red Hawk Roofing at redhawkroofing.com and tell them DNVR sent you.
Another award for the Broncos just came in. Marvin Mims was named to the Pro Football Writers of America All-Rookie Team as a
Dang.
kickoff returner. When you're named to the All-AFC team as a returner, I guess no surprise that you're going to
Yeah.
make the All-Rookie team. So Pat and Marvin raking in the rewards, and then also Justin Simmons. What was he? Second team All-Pro and Pro Bowl starter. So all 3 of those guys really raking in those awards. I think we're done with award
I
season.
didn't even know there was this many awards. It's crazy.
No wonder Pat's already filled up in his
Tapped out.
house. Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's start here. What are your expectations for the Broncos next year?
If you're going to blow everything up and you're going to have to get a new quarterback, and you really have the faith in yourself to be able to command the team, command the offense, to be able to put together something that is better than what you had this year, then you have to be able to make the playoffs with that. I think that's a good expectation, to have a winning season and make the playoffs, because what you're saying is that 8-9 wasn't good enough, and you feel like you can go do better than that. So you have to have a winning season and you have to make the playoffs.
Wow.
Yeah, I just can't expect that. Like, I expect like 8 wins, 7 wins, like kind of right around there. Maybe 9. But like, again, like, bar for success, like, what do they need to do for it not to feel like a wasted season? Like, yeah, make the playoffs. But what do I expect? 8 wins probably again.
Wow. So, Todd, you I thought you were going to take it one way with how you started, and then you went the total opposite way. I thought you were going to say, like, man, if they're blowing this up, my expectations are going to be really low. But then you kind of went the opposite way. Like, if Sean is doing it his way, you expect it to be even more, because he's saying last year wasn't good enough, so I'm going to change things up. Man, if right now, who knows, like, what the expectations are, because if they bring back Russ, I expect more than 8 wins from this last season. If they draft a rookie, Oh, man. I mean, you're right, though. Sean said Russ wasn't good enough.
Yep.
And he thinks he can go and get better if they decide to move on from Russ. I totally see where you're coming from. But my expectations, it's hard to think of a route where my expectations are higher for this team next year than where they are right now. In fact, I might be seeing like a sizable drop off. Like, I don't know, don't be the worst team in the NFL sort of thing. Like,
Wow.
Jarrett Stidham could be their starter, and Sean was really confident in Jarrett Stidham. He went out and averaged 15 points per game. That's not very good. Now, he could have a whole offseason to be better, but my expectations, I don't know exactly where they'd be, but they would drop off big time here.
Yeah, I mean, he had to be confident in Stidham, though. You know, I think he was just done with option number 1.
Yeah.
So, option number 3, my lord. Like, I gotta hype up whoever's coming up next. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just done with what I have here, and so I think he's saying whatever 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, whatever he had, and it got us to 8-9. Really, they had a winning record before Russ went out, didn't they? Because the last 2 games
They were 1-1.
lost
1-1, yeah.
Okay. So very close
7-8.
to a 500 record
Yeah.
is not good enough. So I feel like he feels like he can do better with another player. So you got to do better, Sean. If they are even close to being the worst team in the NFL, heads are going to roll
Definitely.
without a doubt.
Of course. Like, that's
Heads
just the way it
around
goes.
Sean?
No. I
Or
mean,
Sean?
like,
Just
it's-
heads. Just heads.
Yeah, like if you're a head coach and you win 8 games your first year, if you're the worst team in the NFL, like you win 3-4 games, like of course the head coach is getting fired. There isn't really
Oh,
any way
I
around
disagree.
it.
I disagree.
Really?
I mean,
I mean, Eberflus, I guess, stayed.
yep.
But at this point, we had a situation that could have worked, for the next year.
Yeah.
We went 8-9. We could have had momentum going forward. You've now convinced us to have an $80 million cap hit, move on, get a rookie. All this is supposed to be better than, and if it
Yeah.
gets worse, then I think it's like, okay,
I
there's a
also- yeah.
situation here.
I also
the-
don't think they're going to be that bad.
I
Like
don't
they're
think
going to
so
look
either.
about the same.
I don't think so either.
I think it's so easy to see them taking a massive step back. You just said it, Todd, an $80 million cap hit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Last year could have been Sean saying, look, we're stuck with Russ. I'll try to make it work with Russ. He did in some ways, but then he ultimately said, this isn't working for me. And this ownership group hired Sean to do his thing, they didn't hire Sean and said, you have to figure it out with Russell Wilson. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Clearly, that wasn't part of the conversation, and Russ wouldn't have been benched with 2 weeks left. So now they're letting Sean do it his way. If there is that $80 million cap hit this year, you are going to have to take away a lot of pieces that were on this team this past year, and then you're not going to have money to then go and build up your team to not only replace the pieces that you had to move on from, but then make it even better. So I could see this being a situation where Sean and everyone kind of gets together and says, this year's going to suck. But then it's going to be from building from the ground up. And this 8-9, Sean's argument could be like, this is where I see this team being with Russ this coming year, next year, the year after is 8-9, 9-8. We're not going to be able to really have success. So let's tear it down for 1 year and then be able to build it up. So we have one really bad year, 5 wins, 4 wins. Maybe it's up to 6, 7 wins, but we tear it down a little bit. And then we have the opportunity to be 12-5 after that, instead of being capped out at Russ's 8-9.
The only
I mean, that would work. I just don't know if that's the conversation moving forward, because everybody from Greg Penner to the GM to Sean, everybody's saying we want to win now. So if they've had that conversation
That's
behind
true.
closed doors, they've been pushing a very different message, to the media.
Yeah. And the other thing with Russ's contract, like you pay him the same amount of money this year, whether he plays or not. So like getting rid of Russ doesn't mean that you're getting rid of other players any more than it would if you kept him.
Wait, say that again?
Like you wouldn't get rid of more players because you got rid of Russ. Like you're paying the same amount to him either way, So like they aren't gonna.
That's not true, though. If you decide to take the $80 million cap
But they
hit all in this year,
There's
If you-
no
if-
way.
I think
They have you.
there's a strong argument. I don't think they will, but there's
Yeah.
a strong argument to be made that just put it all on this year. Take the bill, have one awful season in terms of cap hits and stuff so that you can have a clean slate moving forward. And if you are, and Todd, I do agree with you that the message from Greg Penner, the message from George Payton, the message from Sean Payton, none of them are saying, like, maybe we need to take a step back, or like that none of them even floated the idea out there of like maybe a 1-year rebuild. So it's hard to make this argument because they're not given any wiggle room to that. Greg Penner gave no wiggle room to that. So I do agree with what you're saying. I'm just showing the other side. And if you are going to take that step back, they have that conversation over these next few weeks of, okay, let's take a step back in order to be better moving forward. I do think it makes sense to take that big cap hit this year, to maybe not draft a quarterback this year if you don't think that guy's there for you or you can't get that guy, and be bad and suck for Shadur, I guess.
That's what you would say. It's not a great quarterback class. But, like, if you were to take that cap hit, what that would look like is you either cut or trade Garrett Bowles, Justin Simmons, Tim Patrick, DJ Jones, Jerry Jeudy, Ben Powers, Samaje Perine, Courtland Sutton, restructure Zach Allen, restructure Mike McGlinchey, push that money to the future. Then you've got $30 million in cap space, and you have 35 players on the roster. So you're basically signing like undrafted free agents, minimum contracts, just to load that roster up.
Retired linebackers.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, like, there's like no way they do that. Like, it would be unprecedented.
So you're saying all that has to happen?
All of that has to happen,
Wow.
and then you've got to find, like, and then you have to factor in like dead cap from like cutting guys during training camp and like paying your practice squad, and guys are gonna go on IR, and you still got to pay them, and that counts for salary cap. So like at that point you have $30 million and 35 players on the roster. So you got to sign 18 more plus 16 to the practice squad. Plus you got to fill out your roster with undrafted guys who you then cut, and they all have like their $20,000 cap hits, dead cap hits when you cut them. And so I mean, it's technically possible.
Yep.
We can say it is technically possible.
And they wouldn't have to tell us that they're rebuilding if they do that.
Yeah.
It'd be very damn
Very
clear
obvious, yeah.
what they're doing there. And man, Sean, now the pressure is more on him. I don't think he's on the hot seat this year. I think he truly gets 3 full seasons regardless of what happens this season. The only way I see Sean not on this team in 2025 is if he steps away. I see ownership giving him 2 more years, and I think a big reason for that is it's clear that they're giving him this opportunity to move on from Russ, and that's going to be a really tough hit, as Henry pointed out, especially if they do it just in one season this coming year. Man, now the pressure's on Sean, though, because last year it was all about, okay, pressure's on Russ. Can Sean fix Russ? If not, okay, well, that's Russ's fault. If so, well, great job, Sean. Now, he'd made the decision that he can't really fix Russ or work with Russ, so pressure was on Russ this past season, and now the blame is on Russ this past season. Now it's a lot more on Sean, but there's still other pieces that where other heads can roll besides it just being Sean this coming year. There's a lot of them. Potentially a quarterback if they go a free agent route or they go with Stidham. Then you have George Payton, who's still with the organization right now. That could be one where you say, okay, well, it didn't work out this season. Instead of Sean, well, George, it was your fault. Now we're going to move in a different direction from you. Vance is another one where that could be pointed at him. So I still think Sean has another year until it's really on him, but there is more pressure this year.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like I'm so conflicted with George Payton, man. I feel like he's drafted really well.
Yes.
He's got some great free agents besides Randy Gregory and Russell Wilson's contract. Like, he's done a phenomenal job. But those are just 2 humongous deals that like kind of like tip the scales.
And Hackett.
There we go.
There it is.
I know it's missing something. Golly, all right.
The biggest trade he made was a massive failure with Russ.
For sure.
The biggest free agent signing he made was a massive failure with Randy Gregory. The biggest coaching hire he made.
But biggest, yes, he's failed at all the biggest stuff. But the little ones, you know what I'm saying? The Lil McLaughlins, the Marvin Mims, the Alex Singletons.
And so, to be fair to your point, what you're saying, though, is he's no longer making those big decisions.
Exactly.
Now Sean's making those decisions. And what was George Payton great at in Minnesota, and why was he viewed as one of the top assistants in the league, is because he was that assistant, and he was viewed as a talent evaluator, not necessarily the guy who was making the big decisions. Now he's right back in that chair as like essentially the assistant general manager. And if he was viewed as a top assistant general manager for his ability to scout talent and see talent in free agency in the draft, and he's back in that role now, that's great.
I think it's great.
Especially when it's not like the ownership's having to pinch pennies and really worry about paying him general manager price when he's really doing assistant general manager work. No, the ownership doesn't care about the money that they're paying to him. So I'm not bothered that they're keeping him, because he's in a way different role now than he was when he failed as a general manager for this team. Now he's in a different role.
The other side of it, though, is like if they do move on from him, it's probably after the draft. Like that's when the GM cycle is like coaches usually get fired at the end of the season. GMs, you kind of get fired after the draft, so you don't have to go through like crazy changes at this point of the year. So he isn't necessarily safe yet.
True.
But yeah, like he's fine. Like I don't have like, if they get rid of him, I'll be like, yeah, it kind of makes sense. If they don't get rid of him, I'll be like, yeah, also kind of makes sense. Like I don't have like a big strong stance there. He hasn't forced me to say either one.
Fair. Something that's never going to fail you. Our friends over at Illegal Pete's. The queso is to die for. It is undefeated. I go with the reverse nachos, where you get the chips on the side and then everything is just in one bowl. And it's just like the ultimate chips and queso, because you get a bowl of queso with then anything that you would have in a burrito on top of it. It is so good. And they just opened another location. So Illegal Pete's is really anywhere. I mean, I know they're in Boulder, they're in Fort Collins. There are obviously many locations in Denver, Wheat Ridge, around the Denver metro area, including that new one in Wheat Ridge. And their margaritas are also killer as well. So you got to check them out. They got the best patios. If it's not freezing, it's a good time to go to their patios. But it's also a great spot to watch a game if you want to go this Sunday and check them out. They've also got an awesome happy hour. I can't say enough good things about Illegal Pete's. So go check them out for the incredible margs, the incredible happy hour, and the awesome queso.
Awesome.
Yeah. Also, so my girlfriend's leaving for like a week. She like leaves tonight, doesn't get back till Sunday.
And you're sad about that, right?
Absolutely.
Good.
But it also means I'm going to be sitting on my couch watching the Avs and Nuggets and drinking some Breckenridge beers, which is going to be a pretty good time. We love Breckenridge Brewery. It might even come down to the bar. I know there's like the Todd Helton Hall of Fame announcement watch party today at the bar at 3, which, I mean, if you're looking for an excuse to drink beers at 3 p.m., that's awesome. Also, I've been like really excited about baseball recently, or at least like trying my best. I think it's because like all that snow came and then it melted, and so it feels like winter's over and now it's spring. And I know that's like there's gonna be more snow and it's gonna suck, but I don't know. I've just been trying really hard to get excited about the Rockies, and obviously you can't do it. Like they're the worst team in the baseball. Like I just want to find something on the internet that says like, yeah, maybe they'll be decent, but you can't even find like one person who thinks like maybe 500 could be in the cards. Like they're that bad. But that's beside the point. That's for those are the spring Breckenridge beers. But if you miss baseball, want to come down at 3, come do that. But also all weekend we got the football games, a whole bunch of basketball games, all that sort of stuff. And Breckenridge Brewery will be the best spirit you can find for all that.
Boom, love it. Okay, Yahir really, really, really wants to be involved on this show today. He is sending me things left and right, from pertinent things to random as hell things. So let's do a little story time with you here, news corner with you here, laughing with Yaya. What are we doing here, Yahir?
I'm just trying to get you as much information as you need.
I love it.
You can't look at your Twitter, but I can.
I
try to get you as much as I can.
I love it, Yahir. So let's quickly hit everything that Yahir has sent to me in the past 10 minutes. This is the first time. This might be the most random one. This is the first time since 2011 that an AFC championship game is not in New England, Kansas City, or Denver.
Wow.
Isn't that kind of crazy? I mean, that's a great stat here.
Pittsburgh.
Phenomenal.
According to NBC Sports and Yahir,
wait, since when?
2011. So probably 2010 was Pittsburgh
probably.
or something like that.
I could get behind that.
That's actually wild, and also awesome that the Broncos are in there. Man, it's been so bad. It's been like 8 years of just such a dry spell. But you do remember that in the past like 15 years, it was great for the first 5 of those. Yes,
Sure was. Also crazy at Mahomes. 6 years as a starter, 6 years in the AFC Championship. It's just a nightmare. Like, it's pretty crazy
It
that
is
he's
a
done
nightmare.
that.
It's crazy.
Like, the Broncos have basically turned into, like, I don't know. So, like, the Patriots were really good. So, like, the Dolphins were just irrelevant for, like, 2 decades. The Jets, like, had their little flash, but were mostly irrelevant. Like, the Bills, same thing. Like, as much as the Broncos have really, like, not done themselves any favors, it's almost impossible to be, like, a good, consistent playoff team when you're in the same division as that.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Also, this is not random because it goes back to expectations. Broncos' expectations are championship. Even if it's AFC championship, it's always that.
Always.
Yeah, man. For 3 decades, it was that. I don't think that's the case anymore.
I think it is. I think there was dry spells in between John and Peyton.
Dry spells,
but there were peaks too.
Dry spells is in never back-to-back losing seasons, though.
But
like
also,
the
like-
dry spells were like a 7-9 year. What got Mike Shanahan fired was 3 straight 8-8 seasons. That was like really consistently as low as the team ever was. 3
Now.
8-8 seasons. Now 8-8.
Yeah.
We might be saying success if it was a 9-8 team this year.
You also had like the 4 wins when you got Vaughn.
How many years was that in a row, though?
Just one.
It was just
of
one.
course, yeah. But I
Yeah.
mean, it was like 7-9, 8-8, 8-8, 4-12, 8-8. Like they were squeaking by right there, but they did squeak by.
Yeah, they did squeak by. Yeah, I mean that's a bigger conversation too of what is a championship or bust for the Broncos. The sad thing is, the answer was 100% yes. I still understand when people say yes. I think those people are like delusional.
Yeah, but
Am I
what the
calling you
thing is,
delusional,
like,
Todd?
Maybe. I feel like that's my expectation. Like when I got here, we were winning.
Yeah.
And when I left, we were losing, but I still expect them to win.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So maybe it's just me. And I feel like
Yeah.
that. You know. they
No,
need to
it's
pick it
definitely
up.
not just you. I'll tell you that.
my thing though is like, what does championship or bust even mean? Like, what
Means
was
you win a championship.
Like bust, but then
Or
like
bust.
So like bust, like-
Failure.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it should always be that way for any team. If you don't win, like you shouldn't, like you know. It's like, what does bust mean?
No.
Like you tear things down, then like.
See, I don't think that was the case for the Broncos this year at all. Like entering the season,
But, like,
it wasn't championship or bust for. And to your point though, there's
Yeah.
probably only
4 or 5 teams. or something
exactly
like
that it's truly like this is going to be a failure. Like you mentioned the stat about Mahomes.
Chiefs.
They should,
Yeah.
of course, have championship or bust. Like
Yeah.
if they don't win the Super Bowl each year, should probably be considered a failure.
So then, but like, I don't know. So like, Texans fans should be like happy.
Absolutely.
Are you
Okay.
kidding me?
But I mean, like they still
Absolutely.
lost in the playoffs. They
No,
still
no.
lost. Like
They
they
haven't
should.
been good for a long time. They
Okay.
got all the way to the playoffs and played the best defense in the NFL and lost to Lamar Jackson, who's going to win MVP. Like
Yeah.
with a rookie quarterback, a rookie head
Yeah.
coach, they had a phenomenal
Like the
season.
Packers. Like you don't think Packers fans all offseason or Packers management should gonna be like, oh my god, we could have won that game. Like we
happy.
could have done it. Like we could have gone for like. I don't know,
What-
that's why bust. I just don't know what bust means. Like you're
what
tearing
they-
things down or like.
Think Jamarcus Russell.
I know he is a bust. He's a bust. So like you feel like Jamarcus Russell if you don't win a champ. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
Championship or bust to me is just one of those like meaningless phrases.
Wait, so because you threw the Texans out, to tie this back to the Broncos, let's say the Broncos do draft a quarterback at number 12, and they win their division, they host a playoff game next year, and they get bounced in the second round by, let's say, MVP frontrunner Joe Burrow in Cincinnati. Is that a successful season?
Yeah, it's a successful season, but I mean, I think that next day in Denver is going to be a nightmare. Like everybody's going to be, nobody's going to like wake up after losing a playoff game and be like, hey, you know what? We had it pretty good this year.
I think people wake up and be like, man,
so.
next year
Yeah.
year's our year.
Yeah.
We're going to the Super Bowl
There's,
next year.
there's
Yeah,
some of
I
that.
agree.
But I mean, I still think that like the pain of like, it's like in the chat. Like I know, it's Caitlin is the
Packers fan.
Packers fan, yes, and she was like, oh, this is terrible. Like I'm upset, and somebody in there was just like, why? Like. You did fine. It's like, what do you mean why? Like it's horrible to lose a playoff game. Like there's no worse feeling. I don't think it matters what you're like. Nobody's in the headspace of like, well, in the grand scheme of things, I didn't expect them to be this good. So like, it's going to really, really suck when the run comes to the end, regardless of when it comes to an end.
So
I can speak for players, and I feel like the sucky part is probably that day that you lose.
Huh.
But after that, you're like, ooh, we about to take off next year. Like when we lost
Like
to the Colts,
yeah.
like, yeah, we were mad. We were like, there's nobody going to, like, the talk in the locker room was like, there's nobody that's going to stop us next year. I don't care what's going to happen. Like,
But wouldn't that have been the championship or bust team with Peyton Manning and all that?
for sure.
Like, you know,
Yeah,
and you
for
still
sure.
just like, you still just kind of, it's the same thing.
For sure. But I'm just saying the mentality is this next year is our year. I think when you have a
Yeah.
good season, even though it's not what you want it to be, I think that's the mentality. Especially for a team like the Packers, who definitely weren't supposed to be there before the season started, or the Texans, who weren't supposed to be there before the season started. I think the only one that, even the Lions, I feel like the Lions thought they were going to be good. I don't think they thought they were going to go to the NFC Championship.
I mean, Lions fans, like, they
Lions
didn't
fans-
expect anything over there. But yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, and maybe that's one where, like, they could lose this week and, like, be like, hey, at least we had this run. But I think it takes, like, decades of suck to not feel like that's just another blown opportunity. Like, you're 2 wins away from a ring. Even if, like, if they lose this, like, I don't, like,
So the
championship or
Broncos
bust,
haven't
like,
been down enough for a playoff win and hosting a playoff game next year to be a success, to feel
not
like
compared to
great?
the Lions. Like, no, I
Well,
think
not compared to the Lions.
There's only one team that has like a really successful season. Like everybody else ends on a low note. Yeah, everybody else ends on a low note. I was thinking about like teams that are like 6-11, but they win their last game. So technically, but no, they end on a low note. They miss the playoffs. Like that's why championship or bust to me just doesn't really mean anything. Like it's just kind of like an empty phrase.
dang, there's a comment right here from Alex that says, has Hank ever met expectations?
Yes, I have. I certainly have.
Say, ask my girl, huh?
Exactly. Yes. Thank you.
That's why it's so low, right? So low expectations, you can reach them every time.
That's not why I reach them every time.
Oh my goodness.
That is not why.
Holy cow. Okay, let's get to another one of here's random things that he sent me. He sent me Sean Payton's first-round draft picks when he was with the Saints. I don't know why, but we weren't having that conversation at all, but I like it. And he added this note. Sean has drafted 7 on offense and 10 on defense in the first round in his tenure with the Saints. Okay, I like that. We'll actually reference this tomorrow when we get into some mock draft talk, because it's all quarterback talk, and that's probably 90% of the talk that you're going to hear surrounding the Broncos. Not with mock drafts, though, and maybe Yahir's onto something with not Sean Payton either, so I like that, Yahir. And then the last little news corner with Yahir, interesting things going on with the Chargers right now. Just less than an hour ago, a report from Mike Garafolo said the Chargers and Jim Harbaugh are, quote, in striking distance of getting a deal done, but another report from Pro Football Talk says Pete Carroll is, quote, making a push for the Chargers' vacancy at head coach.
And Vrabel, too.
And Vrabel's making a push?
Yeah, I think it might have been that same tweet.
Oh.
I mean, it is what it is. Like, it's felt like it's, to me, it's Harbaugh until it's not. Like, ever since the whole, it all kind of started, it felt like Harbaugh. I hate bringing these up, but, the odds say, it's minus 300, it's Harbaugh. That's just because those odds aren't based on what's going to happen. They're based on what people bet on. So you can't really listen to them, but,
I think those
what
are
that
probably
means,
spot on, though.
People do, which is why
exactly.
they are exactly where they are, because
Yeah.
they bet to that line. But it reminds me, I'm not sure if I've said this on the podcast, but there was our NBA guys did the draft show, the Nuggets guys, and it was they have whatever pick 17 or something, and so there's odds on every pick, and they just kind of update, and they're oh well, this guy's plus 200. It seems like he's the favorite. What would that mean? Is it gonna happen? And so the people watching you start betting on him, and so he went down to plus 150 and plus 100 and minus 200, and then they're he's moving down, he's going to minus 200. It's gonna happen. It's a heavy favorite, and I think it wound up being down to minus 700, minus 800, and they wound up drafting somebody else. But just because they had just built their own hype that just cycled, and so that's when you see those odds, they don't mean anything. But it does mean that I'm not alone in thinking that. It's Harbaugh till it's not, and he's probably worst case scenario for the Broncos because he's a decent coach.
That's the best. That's one of the best jobs. I mean, you're in
Yeah.
LA. You're going to have the
Yep.
ability to call all the shots.
Yep.
They're getting a brand new facility.
Yep.
It's going to be beautiful. Like,
No pressure from fans.
no pressure. Fans may be there. They may not be
Exactly.
there.
Yep.
You have a quarterback.
You have a
which
quarterback?
Typically, when a job opens up, a big reason why is because you don't have a quarterback.
For sure.
Now, is Justin Herbert a franchise quarterback? Yes. Is he an all-pro quarterback? No. Is he a playoff quarterback? Barely. So, like, you're not inheriting Patrick Mahomes, obviously, but you are inheriting a much better quarterback than most job openings have.
Yeah, and I think if Harbaugh does get the job, he's going to treat him like a J.J. McCarthy or Colin Kaepernick.
Yep.
Colin Kaepernick beat you a little bit more with his legs, but it was run, downhill, smash mouth football, play action pass. You're going to hit this guy. He's going to be wide open.
Yeah.
So just
Yep.
don't miss him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's going to be a great spot for him to be in as a quarterback.
And then one more thing that we haven't mentioned about this job being good is, by the way, you're going to get like $15 to $20 million a year
Yeah.
to do it too. So like, no
Yeah.
wonder Pete's like, wait, can I throw my hat in the ring? And
Exactly.
Vrabel's like, wait, I want this too.
Yeah.
And of course, Harbaugh, he's been connected with that job for a long time. So thank you, Yahir, for taking us to Yaya's Corner. I love that. Maybe a new little
Yeah.
thing of the show.
Especially when we like maybe don't have the last 10 minutes of content figured out, you know? Kind
Are
of
you
lines
saying
up
we
well.
don't have the last 10 minutes of content figured
I think
out?
today we did great. I think there was the running back show where, you know, maybe we could maybe Yaya's Corner would have saved us.
We were dancing on our feet a little bit.
Yeah, maybe just how else do you dance?
Is that not an expression?
I mean,
Maybe
I've
just
never
made
heard
it
of
up.
dancing on
you
the-
can bob your head.
I'm
and
known
it's
for
kinda
Dancing on your
like-
feet.
making some things up, confusing some.
Maybe that's I haven't heard of that one.
some
I don't know if I've heard
sayings.
that.
I think I've heard of that one.
Can
yeah.
you dance on your head? Isn't that a saying?
I
can.
can't.
Yeah, you can.
I mean, like breakdance.
yeah,
You know, like
yeah. I can't.
I can't either.
Okay, let's jump in to our final segment here. And before we get into any comments and super chat specifically, one big one just came in. I want to give a shout out to all of the OGs that have been rolling with us for so many years. And I want to hear from you guys on the comments. Like I said yesterday, we are going to get back into the comment section. Now it's the off season. Now we've got a little more time, especially so we don't dance on our feet or dance on our head at the end of shows.
I
We
couldn't
want to
do
hear
that
from
one.
you. We dropped the mailbag yesterday
Yep.
on YouTube. It's also over at thednvr.com for mailbag questions like, football ones. Drop those on the mailbag. That's on thednvr.com. If you just want to build a community and be rolling with us on a daily basis, drop your comments over at thednvr.com on the most recent podcasts that we post, and we're going to get to those hopefully every single day. But I want to give a shout out to the Count, Iceman, the OG MVP, True Chant fan, Burrito Brad, or Nacho Brad, whichever one you're going to go by, and one that Henry really wanted to give a shout out to, an OG listener.
Yes.
Kale.
Kale.
And you might be like, Kale, the producer?
Yeah.
Yes, Kale, the producer,
Yeah.
was an OG commenter with us.
He was way back in the day.
Yes.
Young college Kale.
Yeah, college Kale. So shout out to everyone. Hit us with a comment over on the website so we can hear from you guys. And also hit us with a thumbs up over on YouTube if you're listening right now. It really helps us, and we appreciate it a lot. We also appreciate the super chats and the commenters that roll with us. So let's hit a big super chat that rolled in from Dan Maring. Says, did I get that name wrong?
No, that's a
okay,
good-
okay. You just questioned it. Danny says, hey, from Montana. Oh, Montanan chiming in. Says, man, I missed off-season pods. Love what you guys do. And thank you so much
Yes,
for the
sir.
massive super chat, Danny. We really appreciate that. And yeah, off-season pods are here, and I feel like we're getting underway, Todd. We're introducing you to what the off-season's like.
We're rocking and rolling. I'm
Yep.
loving it.
Yeah.
You know?
Eventually we'll get down to like 30% football, 70%
Yep.
garbage. So we're doing pretty good. We're at like 85% football.
Today's been a little fun.
Yeah, a little
off
dancing
the
on the
rails.
head, but
Yeah,
other than that,
exactly.
solid. Yep.
Have we asked you lakes, rivers, or oceans, Todd?
I think like the first day. Maybe.
I thought so too, but
Yeah.
someone in the comments yesterday said Todd hasn't answered.
Lakes, rivers, or oceans?
Have we asked you that?
I remember his answer.
No.
Oh,
I don't know.
Oh.
I think you did.
So what's the best body of water? Lakes, rivers, or oceans? Oh, and we actually have our guy Cody dropping a super chat
Wow.
with that right
Oh.
now. So perfect, Cody.
Perfect.
There is a right answer.
Yes,
That'd
there
be
is.
Ocean.
Ah,
That's what you said the first
answer.
time.
Let's
Yeah.
go.
That's the
Yes.
Can't go wrong
Rivers.
with that.
Rivers.
I love the rivers. You travel, like, you can get on a raft, you can get on an inner tube, you can just go.
When was
Like,
the last time you did that, though?
I didn't last summer. It used to be in Montana, like, it's all you do. Like, you just go up to the river,
okay.
you just, like, float down. Like,
Yeah, you don't have any oceans there, so that's why you can't appreciate.
But
True.
what do
a
you
good
do in the,
ocean.
like, when I think of the ocean, I just think of, like, a guy who, like, takes, like, 10 steps in and just kind of, like, squats a little bit, and then the water kind of, like, goes up, and he just kind of, like, stands
you
there.
jet ski, you surf, you
Okay.
parasail, you
Which of those do
whatever
you do?
want.
Which of those
Whatever
do you
want.
do?
I've done them all.
Wow. You can actually, there's a river in Missoula people surf on.
Really?
River surfing, yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Anywhere
You
else
can
it isn't.
boogie board on the edge of the ocean.
But then you gotta just run right back out there. River will take you the whole way. You sit there for a few hours, bring a couple Breckenridge beers. It's a good time.
But
You
then
can sit in the ocean too. You don't know where you're gonna go.
Yeah.
And another super chat coming in from Kurt says, Todd mentioned hiring retired linebackers. You're hired. Thanks for the pod from a Denver-born Idahoan.
Wow.
Did I get
Wow.
that?
Yeah.
Idahoan?
Yeah. Apparently he hasn't seen your Pro Football Focus coverage grade, but
Oh.
What about
it? Oh.
What
Were-
about
were
it?
That it
you
was
on Twitter?
awesome.
Were you on Twitter last Friday?
Uh-uh.
Did you see? Oh, so you didn't see it.
Oh,
was
good.
it?
Someone, what linebacker is up for? It's Tennessee. It's
Yeah.
the Titans.
He
It's,
won your deal. Aziz Al-Shire.
Yes, he is up for. He's a free agent this year, and one of the things that Pro Football Focus is
Hold on,
doing.
I gotta bring up some receipts so I can.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. One of the things that Pro Football Focus is doing is they're taking any free agent and comparing them to a former player at their position that was a free agent to compare like contracts. And they compared him
Yep.
to you.
Oh, really?
And they
Yeah.
said, you got your contract, here's your coverage grade, here's your run grade, here's your overall PFF grade. And they didn't they match up with his as well? Like that's why they chose
Yeah.
Todd.
Wait, I gotta show.
Sort
I
of.
gotta,
Not as much as you'd expect.
And-
I
honestly.
gotta see if I find some receipts about my coverage. 'Cause
And someone on Twitter screenshotted it. Sorry, I'm forgetting your name. Screenshotted it and tagged the three of us and said, like, awesome, Todd's like getting the comparison on PFF. And Henry,
through a jab.
just how rude he is. Yeah, he said, wow, nice coverage grade, Todd.
I gotta find the receipt, but for 2 years in a row, per being thrown out, I was the best cover linebacker in the NFL. I'm gonna find
Really?
it. Yes,
Wait,
because you have.
who did this?
I forget. I gotta find
Someone
my
named
receipts.
you the best coverage linebacker?
Yeah, based on
Damn.
plays and targets.
Ooh.
So I gotta find it just because I know PFF they like to have crazy stats, but I'll find it and make sure I show you.
Oh, it was our guy, Devin? Yes.
Yeah.
Devin.
I just
And
sent
then
you a link.
Henry just takes the low road and says that coverage grade is rough. And I take the high road and say, damn, Todd, impressive run defense grade.
Thank you, man. I
Yeah,
appreciate
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Real quick, this is from PFF Denver.
Talking about, as of today, the Denver Broncos post some of the best linebackers in the NFL. Todd Davis has a grade of 71.6, 20th best linebacker grade. This
Is
was
that for
back in
coverage?
November 22nd,
What was that for?
22nd of 2019.
PFF,
Yeah, they're giving you credit that you're one of the best linebackers, top 20 linebacker. Grade.
20th best. Would you take that, Todd? Are they right on that? Is that a compliment? Is that an
I
insult?
mean, there's 32 starters. I mean, it's what it is. It is what it is. It's okay.
Oh, no, it's 64. Because there's
Oh, I
kind of
guess there's-
two
yeah,
inside
yeah, two,
linebackers. So,
yeah.
yeah, top third. Do you take that? Do you agree with that?
Yeah,
Or you say
better,
do
better than Hank ever was.
Nobody gave me a chance.
I can say I've meet expectations.
That is true.
Damn it. I'm gonna see. I bet I can find that on PFF.
Hank's thing is just don't even try, and then you can't even have
I
expectations.
think so.
That wasn't. I got forced into that. Nobody gave me the opportunity.
Hey, I gotta find it. I'm gonna find it.
Yeah, I can find it too.
When you guys are looking for that, should we dive in to our Bet365 top 5 games of the season
Yep.
to kind of round out the conversation that we started at the beginning of the season or at the beginning of this show?
Sorry.
You found it?
Sorry. Okay, so this is Pro Football Focus, and I had a 79.9 round up. That's an 80. I gave up 0.59 yards per coverage snap, which
Yep.
was the second best among linebackers, and that was PFF. So I don't know what grade you saw, but according to PFF, I was the second best coverage linebacker in the NFL.
Yep.
I don't want people to sleep on me because people love to sleep. I'm gonna wake y'all up. You know what I'm saying?
You don't want people sleeping
Play
on
with
you?
me? I'm waking Hank up.
Wake me up.
I feel like that's my duty all off season. I gotta wake Hank up. You know.
Only
Wake
2 missed tackles in
Hank up.
2016 also. 2%.
Hank's shocked at these.
No, I'm not shocked. I'm just saying, like, those some good numbers there.
Good thing I'm in between you guys. This could be messy
Let's see.
if you didn't have my muscle in between here.
433 cover snaps, 43 receptions. I bet that was the best one. I wonder where there's.
He's
I can
gonna
find
really
like the
crunch
league
the
ranks.
numbers.
That's fine.
He's gonna crunch the numbers.
Crunch away.
I'm Team Todd. I'm gonna find
No,
the good
you
stat.
like
I'm
the
gonna
jab.
find.
You know, I want
like
you to
the
crunch.
jab.
I want you to crunch. So you know what I'm saying? I'm not giving it to you. You're crunching them yourself.
They were pointing out the 2020 numbers just to.
Which
Oh.
one? 2020.
Actually, no, they weren't. That would have been 26.
What year was that?
2020, you were in Minnesota, right?
Let's see. So they had
COVID year.
no that. So they had 52.5 cover grade in the box. That was never one of these.
Yeah, they're lying.
Yeah,
And you went with it.
I
So
saw
I
an
needed a
opportunity.
tweet. I need an apology tweet.
An apology tweet.
the
Okay,
lies.
formal apology tweet. Okay, I'll find a good. I'll find the stats.
Hank's gonna have to crunch the numbers now.
Oh,
You gave him
man.
some homework, Todd.
Let's go.
I love it. I love it. This has been a blast. Should we get the top 5 games of
Okay.
the season for the Broncos? Bet365 top 5. There's a clear number 1.
Yep.
Clear
Okay, so-
number 1. When you snap a 16-game losing streak, especially to the Chiefs, any disagreements there?
No,
That's
I
number
agree.
1.
Oh yeah, I mean that's gotta be it.
And not only did they win the game, what I forgot when I was looking at these yesterday, they destroyed them.
Yeah, they did.
24-9. Like 15-point win is huge, but then holding the Chiefs to 9 points, you got to be kidding me. I'd say the second best game for the Broncos this year was the very next game they played.
Yep.
The win in Buffalo.
Yep.
We talk about Bills are getting crushed for wide right. The Broncos had their own wide right in Buffalo. Bills just had 12 men on the field.
Exactly.
So that helped him
forgot
out.
about that.
Yeah.
That was a blessing for sure.
It was. It definitely was. So I'm going Bills number 2 for our top 5. Third, I think it's open. There's only 8 wins. Would you make the case that any of the losses the Broncos had would be in this top 5?
No.
Not
Yeah.
any. Yeah.
I don't think you can.
I could have, but like not with the losses they had. If
Wait.
there was a good loss, then maybe, but there just wasn't one.
Where are you going with 3 then?
I
So-
would either say the comeback win versus the Bears just because of how we won.
Yep.
Or
Okay.
the domination win 24-7 against the Chargers. We completely dominated the entire game.
Yeah, I'd probably go Chargers first, but those are the 2 that I was looking at.
I would throw one more in the conversation.
Okay.
But we can go the Chargers one since both of you guys agree on that. The one that I'll make the argument for to be 4th then, the 29-12 win against the Browns. Now,
yep.
Browns were on their backup quarterbacks. They hadn't figured out Joe Flacco yet. They didn't have Deshaun anymore. So maybe it was a little... But the fact the Broncos put up 29 points against that defense,
Yep.
and remember, that defense at the time was like unquestioned number 1 defense in the NFL.
That was also 5 in a row. That's the big thing for me.
Right.
Okay.
The vibes might have been best there
So we're
because you
going...
have the Texans lost sandwich between that and then the Chargers.
so we're going number 3, the 24-7 win against the Chargers.
I'm good with that or Browns. Yeah.
Yeah, either one.
Yeah.
Well,
Go Browns.
okay.
oh,
yeah.
wow.
Cool.
Wow. I wasn't trying to just dominate.
No, you got it.
Okay, win against the Browns. Then we're going Chargers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you guys also mentioned the Bears win, which
Yep.
was a big one.
Yep.
There's one more game though in that 5-game win streak, which I want to throw out there: the 21-20 win against the Vikings. That was Sunday Night Football. That was beating the hottest team in the NFL at the time. The Vikings were the hottest team.
Yeah. It was Josh
I don't know
Dobbs.
if they were ever really a threat, and then they just fell off so hard after that.
Yeah.
We just knew that the Josh Dobbs era was running out, and
Yeah.
it just started running out like with us.
Yeah, yeah.
And I feel like that the Bears game was big because had we lost that game, it was over. There's no 5-game winning streak if we lose
Yeah.
that game. Like the season's over, the morale's done, and we probably would have the number 2 pick in the draft.
Jarrett Stidham might be starting that next
Yep.
game.
Yeah.
Like, so you're right in terms of just how monumental it was, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Man, what if they don't come back? Because that was not a gimme. That was the opposite of the 24-7 win that the Broncos had against the Chargers.
Yep.
The Broncos really had no business winning that game with how bad the first half was. What was it? 20? was it 28-7 at halftime?
Yeah, it was bad.
21 to
Something like that.
Yeah, it was really bad. So, man, is that the most influential game of this season? Win or lose?
Probably the Dolphins game, I would say. That one kind of was pretty influential.
Yeah.
That kind of set the whole entire vibe of the year.
I think one more, you could throw the Patriots in there.
Yeah.
Because if they don't lose to the Patriots, Russ probably doesn't get benched. And then does he get benched at the end of the season? And what's the conversation now? We're probably thinking, like, as of right now, like, yeah, Russ is back next year for sure. So one of those three, probably the top.
Yeah, for sure.
But here's our top five. So the three, we're going with the Bears comeback win here. So the games we left out, the Vikings game, which we talked about, the Packers win, and then the Chargers win. At least those last two are good ones to leave out. The Packers win was about as, man, I mean, I guess it started the 5-game win streak.
Yeah.
But after that game, it didn't feel any different.
No.
And then the Chargers win in Week 17. Jarrett Stidham was your quarterback, and you won 16-9 after you were essentially eliminated from the playoffs. Okay. Actually, you were eliminated from the playoffs right after that. Okay, great. So, yeah, there's our top five. And that is our show today. This was a blast. Thanks so much for rolling with us today. We'll be back tomorrow. Mock draft season is here. And we're breaking down the mock drafts. And I got to say, an early look at these mock drafts, I'm shocked at what's going on. We're going to break them down. We're going to break down the players, break down what it means for the Broncos tomorrow, 11 a.m. Thanks for rolling with us. Have a terrific Tuesday.
We all silly like the mayor.